Put your hands up if you think this statement is right. If you think life is too short to do things that are rubbish, put your hands up if you think that's true. Come on. Life's too short to sell things we don't believe in, correct? Put your hands up if you think that's true. When we believe in our mission, then we are filled with energy and passion, and people will follow you, and you have social capital. And it's when your colleagues go home and they say, you know what, I did great things with a wonderful team. I'm so proud of the organization. Then we can leave. We live in an age of extraordinary change, of velocity. And I want to suggest to you that our world is now so complex and so uncertain and so rapidly changing that it is now impossible for a single organization to succeed on their own without partnerships, unless they are huge, and certainly impossible for any individual leaders to succeed without very close networks of people around them. It's just too complicated. Stuff happens, and it doesn't matter whether you're an airline, it doesn't matter whether you are an energy company. Now here's an event. In 20 seconds, there was an earthquake in Japan. As a result, there was a second 20-second event, which was a crack in a nuclear reactor. 40 seconds of history changed 40 years of energy policy in Japan, in Germany, in Europe, in the United States, and here in Malaysia. Our global energy markets have been profoundly affected. Why? Because in 40 seconds, nuclear energy was stopped in Japan and stopped in Germany. 40 seconds to change 40 years of human history. And I could give you many other examples where strategies are being overtaken by events, and where the world is changing faster than a board can even hold a meeting of its own team. And in this incredibly fast-changing world, which includes things like ISIS, it includes things like military adventures in Ukraine, it includes things like Ebola. In all of these things, which are simply a part of our changing world, we need networks, communities, associations, partnerships, experience, consultancies, collaborations, teams, and all of these things are built on social capital. Now, I've learned one thing. I've been advising companies on global trends for about 20 years now, and I've learned this one thing. There's one word which will drive the future more than anything else, even more than social capital, actually. This single word has driven the whole of human history for the last 3,000 years. It will drive all of human history for the next 10,000 years. This single word is, it's not economics, it's not politics, it's not even innovation. And this single word is not manufacturing, it's not relationships. What is this single word? This single word, well, I'll tell you, I'll give you a clue. You know, the other day I was a little bit late to come down to do a technical setup, and I was waiting for the lift on the 20th floor, and I pressed the lift button, and nothing was happening, and I was really frustrated, and I was waiting, and I was tempted for a moment to do something absolutely crazy. I know that you would never touch the lift button more than once, but I did. Put your hands up if you too have been tempted to an act of madness and touch the lift button more than once. I know that you didn't do it, but you did think about it for a moment. Put your hands up if you thought about it. It's all right, the video is turned off now, you're perfectly safe. Put up your hands if you actually touched the button. You punched it several times. You know, even Bill Gates knows he cannot reprogram the IT system of the lift by pressing the lift button more than once. Put up your hands if you talk to the lift. Put up your hands if you talk to the car when it doesn't start in the morning. You know, I give lectures to many people, and I had 1,000 airline pilots in front of me. I said, put up your hands if you talk to your plane. They all talk to their plane. Come on, baby, it's time to go. Now, what we learn from this is very simple. You see, you, my friends, are the most rational, logical, well-educated people in the world. You are highly analytical. You only base decisions on facts, data, and absolute certainty. And yet, it appears that you, like me, only need to have a moment of pressure. And in 10.5 seconds or less, you are behaving like me, like totally mad people. What we learn, therefore, is there is one word that drives the future even more than data. And it is emotion. It's the passions that we have. It's the anxieties that we feel. It's the pleasures we look for. And it's the relationships that we love. So emotion is the driver of the future. It's emotional reactions to events that shapes the future. We look at the Japanese disaster. In Germany, they banned nuclear. In China, they decided to go for the biggest nuclear boom. In my country, we stopped nuclear. In my country, we're building nuclear. In Germany, they've stopped. What is this about? Same data, same event, different future. All to do with emotional reactions. Now, if it's true that human history, therefore, is driven not by events, but by reactions to them, then if we want to understand the future, we need to understand human psychology and how people feel. And that is exactly what social capital is all about. You see, actually, it's all about trust. Trust is just an emotion. Trust is fundamental to business. You could say that for most businesses, trust is the only thing that you actually sell. If it's an airline, that's certainly true. Trust that the plane goes up, stays up, and comes down in the right airport. Right, okay. If you're a bank, I promise you, if we have learned only one thing from the last 6 years, it's this. Trust in banks is the only thing a bank has to sell. Actually, the subprime crisis then quickly spread to trust in government. You need to trust that the government will pay its debt in order to convince yourself to buy those government bonds. Trust. Trust, trust. Trust is linked to reputation. Reputation is the most important asset of every business. Let me give you an example from a food company. Can you imagine what would happen to someone like Pepsi or Coca-Cola or Cadbury's or Unilever if it turned out that one of their products had been contaminated with something like dioxin? And suddenly they have lost trust. That somehow it's no longer worth buying that bottle of clean water, because the bottle of clean water actually is more dangerous than anything you could drink from the tap, even in a situation where there is a breakdown in normal supplies of chlorine for the public welfare system. So we're talking about trust, reputation, trust that the fridge will not electrocute you, trust that the food is good for your baby, trust that the bank will be there tomorrow, trust that your software company will deliver on time and on budget without bugs, the system you have said that you will provide. And people don't trust institutions, people trust people. Particularly in business to business, it's when you, as you know, you look into the eye of a colleague and you shake the hands on a deal, someone you trust. That is why, of course, so much business is lost when a key member of a team moves from one company to another. they usually take some of their best accounts with them. Why? Because trust is not so much about the brand, it's about the people behind the brand. And if the friend you trust goes from one software company to another, chances are you're going to move that contract sooner rather than later. If you are in private banking, you know especially this is true. If a high net worth person has had a relationship with one family over 3 generations, and that relationship manager goes from one private bank to another, I promise you some of those most wealthy people in the world will soon be following behind. Now, this social capital thing, therefore, is vital to trust. It's vital to understanding a whole load of other trends. Another example is cities. You know, as a futurist, I notice sometimes people come up with crazy predictions. So 10 years ago, some people were saying there will be an end to cities. Can you imagine such nonsense? They were saying people don't like cities. They will move to the countryside to work because it's cleaner, safer, better quality of life for their children. They will all work virtually. Nonsense. Do you know that over the next 10 years or 15 years, we will see 300 million people move to cities in China alone? We will see another 475 million move to cities in Africa. And why? People love cities. They love the buzz. They love to breathe the same air. They love the nightlife. They love the relationships. They love the concentration of talent. They love everything about them. Cities are incredibly popular, which is why offices are incredibly popular. Another crazy prediction was the death of offices. You may remember that too. People said, oh yes, and no one will be working in offices. They will only be meeting in conferences. Nonsense. It is true, we may use less space per person because people are hot desking, because they have the technology in their pocket, but people love offices. They love going to work. Home offices, as we have discovered, are very lonely places because they do not create social capital. And there is a need inside the human spirit for social capital. We need to belong. Just have a look at teleworking. Some futurists said, oh, we'll all be teleworking. Well, it's true that all of us, of course, have our lives in our pocket these days. And it is true that in a way, all of us are now working 365 days a year if we check our email every day. But the fact is that there has not been a rush for people to move into working at home, even where their contracts allow it. In the US, in the UK, in many other countries in the world, and here in Malaysia, offices continue to be popular because they create social capital. And it's true, we have challenges with outsourcing, with long-distance, globalized relationships, to maintain that sense of social capital over long distances. And people use all kinds of techniques, and some work better than others. Now, put up your hands if you have attended a video conference in the last year. Put up your hands if you enjoyed it and are looking forward to doing it again. Or 1 or 2. Put up your hands if you've done a Skype call or a video call to members of your family in the last year. Put up your hands if you enjoyed it and are looking forward to doing it again. You see a difference. Actually, video is a very personal medium. It's very good at building trust, and it's the kind of thing that we use in our close relationships. But sometimes we are uncomfortable to use video in the work context. It's a different kind of environment. So we need to understand ways to build social capital. We need to understand emotion and how people behave. And to understand that sometimes things like video aren't the way to do it. Breathing the same air is the most important thing in building trust. If you've got the trust, video call for a working relationship isn't necessarily so helpful. It depends on how comfortable people are with video. Now, Let's turn then to the video and digital and everything else and the impact on social capital. It's true that Facebook and other things, I mean, Facebook alone now has 1 trillion page views every single month. And, you know, in my country, some people, particularly students, are now using social media and other things like that for 7 hours every single day. You wonder when they sleep. Okay. And this constant attention has created an expectation of instant response, which is very important now in maintaining social capital. And we'll see some examples of this for customers and also for workers. Let's look at customers. Now let's imagine that last night you opened your iPad and you were watching TV and you typed in the name of Britney Spears because you couldn't remember when she was born. And maybe you got onto her web page and you click on the web page. How many seconds will you wait before you press the back button because life's too short to wait for Britney Spears' web page to load? Put your hands up if you press the back button in less than 5 seconds if nothing's happening because you just think, oh my goodness, why would I waste any more time of my life? Now listen, if you remember nothing else, remember this. In Kuala Lumpur today, 75% of all web people are lost in 5 seconds. You've just shown me that. What you said is this. In 2 seconds, I was a little irritated. In 3 seconds, I said the internet is broken. In 4 seconds, I say they should get a new webmaster for their web page. In 5 seconds, I have lost the will to live. Right? You just showed me that. 75% of you here said, I have terminated my entire relationship with that website because they have wasted 5 seconds of my life. Okay. See how impatient we have become. By the way, what about your children? How long do they wait? 2 seconds, maybe 3. And what about you in 2020? How many seconds will you wait? Maybe the same. Can you see what's happening to us? Social media has done this to us. The web has done it to us. We have become very impatient. Every second counts. And if you want to know how to increase your social capital, respond quickly to the relationships that you have. And you might say, oh, this is terrible. I should have to reply to emails even faster. Well, actually, maybe email is such a last century invention. If email and phone calls are last century, actually, you know what? Imagine for a moment that you have a child who is sick. I wonder how the school would get hold of you now. Would they use email? No. Would they phone you? What? You'll be in a meeting. They will use an SMS, correct? Put up your hands if you take more attention to an SMS than anything else from a friend. So we're beginning to understand social capital has its own methods of communication. It's little shortcuts. It's ways of getting to the very heart of someone that really matters to us. And if we want to develop social capital, we need to understand the best way to communicate with each person that we are with. Now here's another example of how the web is changing us. So my wife has been trying to get money back from the electricity company, and she presses 1 for accounts, she phones them, press 2 for customer service, press 3 for, oh my goodness. Put your hands up if you find that extremely annoying when they have already taken so much money from you. Okay. Put up your hands if you think it's a social crime. And people who put such systems in should be put in prison for a long time. Strange thing is that every bank uses them. Every airline uses them. Every IT company uses them. And probably at least half of the companies here are using them. But we've just said that we find it extremely annoying. So what happened? I'll tell you what happened. You see, over here, we behave like a customer. and we're interested in social capital as customers, which means pick up the call now and your social capital increases with a human being. Give me a robot and you've lost your social capital in 2 seconds. It means if the web page doesn't load quickly, I'm losing social capital, I'm losing interest. But over here, we're not interested in social capital, we're interested in bottom line. We're interested in saving a cent. We're interested in robots. We're interested in make them wait. Same person. In the coffee break, I get very angry with the electricity company. 2 minutes later, I've just bought the world's biggest robot answering system for my customers. What I'm saying is that if we want to succeed, we need to learn from our feelings, because life is about emotion, our feelings about life as an ordinary human being, and translate that into ways we can learn about how to motivate and fire up people at work. And so we take our customers very seriously. We respond to them very quickly, especially if things go wrong. So if they are on a helpline, remember they are already annoyed. They have already had to press the buttons, okay? They've already been waiting. So we take them very seriously. We respond to them fully. We say, my boss will be phoning you back in 10 minutes. And you know what? We phone back in 5. And when we phone back in 5, we say, I don't have the answer to this situation at the moment, but I will have it within an hour. I will phone you back again, and I will tell you exactly what we're going to do. And when we phone back in an hour, we say, I'm very sorry that this has cost you $100. You know what? I'm just so sorry about this. We're going to refund it completely, and we're going to give you $50 just as a little thank you, because we're so sorry we have messed up your life. And we're going quickly, clearly, we go further than the customer expects, and you know what? You then turn a disaster into something that gets gossiped and goes viral as a positive thing. And you find the customer who was so angry now says, you know what? They are the best in the world. Things go wrong, but when things go wrong, they put them right. So it is important to understand velocity, important to understand the customer, important to respond quickly, sensitively, firmly, and then the social media will do the rest. Now, I want to suggest that social capital is also the key to all the problems we have on recruitment and retention. You know, here in Asia, we have even greater challenges than in some other parts of the world to do with talent. If you look here, you will see that over half of all companies in Asia are reporting significant talent shortages, and actually, interestingly, only 22%, 1 in 5, are pursuing untapped sources of talent, and 14% are doing absolutely nothing to address this important issue. Well, I can tell you the most important way to solve any talent issue is social capital. Why is that? Because the most important and easy way to attract the most wonderful people to your company is through the friends of the people who already work with the company. We know this. And last year I was here actually in Kuala Lumpur. We were addressing specific talent shortages in the energy sector, which is our global problem right now. And one of the problems with the energy sector can be image. And one of the most powerful ways to give a positive image is the friendship. It's to say, hey, my company's fantastic. Look, I know you might not think that, let's say, the oil industry is a particularly attractive industry. Let me tell you, it's absolutely fantastic. It's a great company, great career. We're doing a fantastic job. We are highly efficient. We protect the environment. And the ambassador for that recruitment is someone that you really trust. And of course, people respond. So if you look here, you'll see this is what companies are actually doing. That to fill vacancies, yes, some are just internal moves. The biggest one is networking, 45% of times. We're just sending out and looking at CVs and biographies, very few. And then the rest is job posting. But if you look now, this is changing. Even when you go outside, it's changing, because the job posting has got connected with social capital. The recruitment connected with social capital. If you look in the United States of America today, 85% of companies will use their social capital to recruit using just this platform alone, LinkedIn. How many people here are members of LinkedIn? So you can begin to see the impact of a single site which is being used more than any other website in the entire world now for social capital related recruitment. It's actually putting a system into the friendships and relationships within your teams. Now, it's not the HR department that's using LinkedIn. It's you as a boss using it yourself, reaching out through your members of your own team, through their own LinkedIn networks, and saying, who else might be interested in this? Who else do they know that you know, or that others may know, that are connected in with others that we know already? It's these networks that do things right. By the way, some of you are taking photographs and videos and things, which is absolutely fine. But just to let you know, I've already published all the slides here. They're for you. They're online, and I will give you a link at the end. And it's all being videoed, and I hope the video will be up there as well within 24 hours. Okay, so you can just relax and just see what's happening. Now, we know that networking, when you network to recruit, you can also increase diversity. There is a risk, by the way, of breaking diversity. If you only network with, let's say, let's take the US, white people who speak English as their first language, then if you're not careful, you just create more white people who speak English in your team. But if, for instance, you really want to increase your ethnic diversity in the US, then you might want to network through, let's say, at the Afro-Caribbean community. How would you do that? You might do it through one of the biggest social institutions, the church in that country. Through churches that have huge Afro-Caribbean congregations in that particular city. You might say, you put it out through those networks and say, look, we'd like to increase representation of some of the people who are the most senior part of our teams, and so on. You're going to hear more from the minister when she opens this event about involvement of women in the workplace, especially here in Malaysia, but worldwide. And this, of course, is one of the fastest ways to grow talent in the organization, because there are so many women who have tremendous skills who are just waiting to be recruited. And I hope I'm not being sexist to say this, but in my experience, many women are far better at understanding social capital than men. They are better at being the social glue. They are often better at using social networks. In my country, certainly, women are do 60% or 65 to 70% of all social networking in my country using technology. And it is true that what I call a toxic testosterone culture can destroy social capital. And I think of silly corporate events, sometimes organized by men for men, it seems. And you have women who just basically don't feel that they belong in that kind of culture, and they leave, which is tragic, because in my country, 60% of all the best graduates are women. 60% of the best grades in high school are in girls. 60% of the best intake at business schools are women. 60% of all the high flyers in people like Ernst & Young or McKinsey are women. But they are then lost as they get older because of all kinds of factors, including this toxic culture. Now, we know that social capital also boosts team performance for obvious reasons. If you have fun with your team, you're praising success, you celebrate success with walls of fame, you say we did it together. Here is a very powerful way to increase social capital. I don't know about you, but I hate gossip. Don't you? Because I know the person who's gossiping to me, I think, very nice. As soon as I go out of the door, who will they gossip about? Yeah. So I don't like it. And it's interesting. that wherever I have worked, I have been famous for this. As soon as they start gossiping, I leave the room and say, I'm sorry, I don't want to hear this. It's gossip. And very quickly what happens is as soon as I enter the room, the conversation stops. They know I'm coming, so they change the conversation. That's great. Sometimes people say yes, but it means that Patrick won't really know what's really going on. I say, thank God for that. There's some things I would prefer not to know. And when we stop it, we just do it by example. It's very, very simple. And we're known for our fairness. We're known to say, I have a principle, which I try to follow, which is I never say something behind your back that I would not be prepared for you to listen to. Yeah? Put up your hands if you think that's a good idea. It's difficult to do. As leaders, sometimes we have to say difficult things that we can't say in front of the person. But I try not to. Or if I'm going to do it, I try to have the conversation with the person beforehand. Try to make sure it's open. These are things, these are principles. It's to do with treating people as we would like to be treated ourselves. And I believe this is fundamental to building social capital. It earns us respect. It means that, yes, I want to follow him, or I want to follow her because I know how she works. She's very fair. She's honest, transparent, dependable, trustworthy, a fantastic boss. And, blame culture is very easy, isn't it? People point the finger. Social capital is the key to innovation. Google has discovered that. You give people time to play, 1 day a week just to play with each other, interact and build ideas, and then you have open innovation happening. You have people giving away, being generous with their ideas. Open innovation you will hear about later in the conference. Open innovation is vital to the future because our world is too complex to do it on our own. Every large pharma company is using open innovation. General Electric is using open innovation. I used it the other day. Every time you tweet a problem, you're using open innovation. As a little example, I had a problem with my own computer the other day. I was trying to solve a problem on a Mac. So I just tweeted to 42,000 of my followers. I said, I have this problem. Anyone, any ideas? In 45 seconds, I had the answer. Why is that? Because people love to contribute. People love to give away their ideas and their intelligence. Companies are doing the same. Now, GlaxoSmithKline probably doesn't want to give away their trade secrets about their own drugs. But suppose they've got a problem with packaging, or it's a problem with, I don't know, how we distribute drugs in Africa with the Ebola scare at the moment, when we can't even move personnel around West Africa. Problems happen, and when they are not to do with the intellectual property that we protect, then these problems can easily be shared. Open innovation, social capital, it's all about working together. And social capital is the key to finding and keeping new customers, because as we know, customers are the best people to recruit other customers. Do you know, we're seeing a new phenomenon, what I call mega influencers. There are 1 or 2 teenagers today, these people are usually 15, 16, 17 or 18 years old, that are becoming some of the most powerful brand shapers in the entire world amongst 20-year-olds. And just one of them is Tanya Burr, who has 2.4 million people who watch every new YouTube clip she puts up, and she puts one up almost every day about the latest eyeshadow she's just trying out, or some dress she was thinking of wearing, but she went into the shop and she didn't like the feel of the fabric, or whatever it is. These people are mega influencers. They are part of your social capital for the future. And you might think it's just clothing, but it isn't. You know, if you go on Google now, you find that customers are ranking absolutely everything. If they're not already doing so, soon they will be ranking every Google ad that you use. So you type in your name of your own brand, just checking that your own advertising is working. It's a good thing to do, by the way, from time to time. Pretend you're a customer. Phone your own call center. Try your own website. Try buying your own product and see. You might get a shock. Okay? It's very important. I call it mystery shopping. It's one of the most... But I think that every member of the board should do mystery shopping. It should be part of their contract. One day mystery shopping at least every 2 months will tell you more about your business than anything else. You may have to disguise yourself, put on a wig and wear a false moustache or something, but, or use a different phone number, but it's very important. You know, if you mystery shop your own products now on Google, you may be shocked to find that the millions of dollars you have been spending is being wasted. Why? Because when Google displays your ads, it displays them with only 1 star. You say, what's happened to us? They're simply advertising that we are unpopular. So the more money you spend on Google, the more your unpopularity is broadcast to your customers. So what happens? Well, what's happening is that Google is looking on all the social media sites to see all the rankings, all the comments, all the postings on your products. And if the communities all think that your products are good, Google is giving you 5 stars. And if they don't, it's only 1. So you can spend as much as you like on advertising, but the customers are already ranking your ads, they're ranking your products, they're ranking your services, they're gossiping about you, because the new currency is social. And we've already seen this on sites like Tribalism and so on. So social capital is actually the key to marketing. In fact, let me say that marketing is dead. Let me say that again in case you didn't hear me. Marketing is dead. The old-style marketing cannot continue. Old-style marketing is shouting very loudly the same message to everyone. What a waste of time. Put your hands up if you find that extremely annoying to be shouted at with messages that don't matter to you. Or people phone you up with rubbish. Or they bombard your phone with nonsense. Or they kill your email with spam. Let's be more intelligent than that. So it's the end of marketing. Yes, we will see some mass marketing campaigns, but I promise you this. I had a dinner not long ago. I was the guest speaker at a dinner. I had only 5 guests in my dinner. Those 5 people, it was a Google event. Those 5 people, between them, control 70% of all marketing, advertising, media spend, TV campaigns for the whole world's multinationals. 70%. They are the 5 biggest advertising companies. They design huge global campaigns. These 5 people in the room. And you know what my topic was? The death of marketing. I said, marketing is dead. Yes, we agree. Yes, can we discuss it? Marketing is dead. The old style things don't work. In my country, hardly anybody watches live TV anymore. Why? Because they're doing it online. Things are changing, my friends. So what's going to replace traditional marketing? Well, let's just think of these kind of people, what they're doing. Where are they? What are they thinking about? What kind of ways can we access them? These people who are watching TV programs for 40 seconds on an escalator, what kind of world are they listening to? These are people that go into a sunny store, and while they're there in the store, they're checking the price. They're checking the price because they're going to order it online. They're going to get it delivered from them at home, or maybe not order it from Sony at all. You know, over half the people in this country research online before they buy. Others, they sit at home, they research, then they go and have a look at the product in an expensive store, then they go back and they order it online from a competitor at half the price. Others go into the store. While they're on the store, they're ordering it from the online site from the same store to be delivered at home. Others are going home and they're ordering supplies to be delivered to them at a shop on the way home before they get home. The world is getting very confused. Retailers are very muddled. They don't know whether it's offline or online, and it's neither. It's all mobile. And in my country now, over half of all e-commerce is now conducted on a mobile device. There is nothing else soon. So we're talking about a completely mobile world, a world that's going incredibly digital, a world where virtually every decision is being influenced not only by online but also by social. So a woman goes in, looks at a dress. She goes into the changing room. She puts the dress on. While she's in the changing room, she's sending a selfie picture to all her social network. She says, I'm thinking of the red, or is the blue better? Hang on, just wait 30 seconds. She puts the other dress on. Here's the blue one. What do you think? Before she's come out of the changing room, she has 85 opinions about whether the red or blue dress is any good, and she decides, no, I'm not buying either of them. Social media. So what is she doing in there? What is he doing on the escalator? You think he's at work, but what is he actually thinking about? What is she planning as she's walking around? So the two most important things we need to know about every customer, and I don't care if it's a food customer, a clothes customer, a telco customer, or a software customer, or a consultancy customer, the most important thing to know is this: where is the individual right now, and who are they close to? These two things. Where are they right now, and who are they close to? Let me ask a really, really embarrassing question, if I may. I can see you like being embarrassed. Who here has had the phone ring at a very awkward and embarrassing moment from your boss or a very important client? Put your hands up. You might even have been in the toilet, right? Oh, yeah, you have. Okay, you put your hands up if that's happened. You're actually in the toilet. Put your hands up if you thought, I must answer it now. Can you see the nonsense of our mobile world? Say, hello, I'd like to talk to you about a contract. 1 hour later, you are still in there. The cleaner is saying, I need to look up. I'm still on the phone to my client. We must understand where the person is, how they are feeling, and who they're connected to, and then you have the basis of a successful relationship. So the most important thing I ask on the phone, of course, is this a good time? Is this a good time? If someone says, no, just ring me back in 30 seconds, I probably caught them in the shower. Goodness knows what I've interrupted in their lives. Let's understand, in a mobile world, location is absolutely everything. Where are they? What are they thinking about? What are they feeling about? Who are they next to? Who are they with? Who are they about to socially network with? Who are they going to send that selfie picture to? Are they with their family at home? Is this a birthday party I've just interrupted? Or are they in the most important business meeting of their entire lives? Let's be sensitive and understand. This is social capital. It's when we do understand. Why? Because we've got those kinds of relationships where we can ask those kinds of questions. Or maybe we know because big data can generate social capital for us, because it enables us to understand. This is the genius of combining telco and bank. The genius of a telco is they know where I am. They can see where I have been. They can see me moving around. They know what patterns of expenditure I've had. They know what web pages I'm looking at, if I've allowed them to see. And all of this allows them to build a single picture. One customer, one conversation. And my friends, now we have the answer to marketing. Because social capital earns us the right to whisper in people's ears along their journey of life. So instead of yelling the same message at all of you here, I can say, here is David. And I have a relationship with David as a telco, as a bank, or as a retailer, or whatever it is. And which means that I understand his life, and I'm able to whisper things to him. Say, David, by the way, your favorite food shop. How could you do this to me? You've just walked past us again. Just 50 meters away. And you're traveling in the wrong direction, but if you turn around now, I will give you a discount and a free drink for anyone else who's with you. Social media, social capital enables us to customize the conversation and to create something which is quite different to the old style marketing. And that is what we're going to see. We are already seeing it. Social capital also is the basis of all government. You know what? Every government relies on social capital. Social capital is the glue that holds every community together. Social capital is the engine of every political movement. Social capital persuades people to work together. Social capital is the basis of all activism. If we look at, has anybody done this challenge? I don't know whether it's come to Malaysia or not. I've already said to people, I'm not going to do this. This is a challenge which was produced by a particular charity for a brain disease. And it challenged people to throw a bucket of freezing water with ice over their head. And at the same moment to video it and to nominate a friend to do the same. And so it spread and went viral. And it has promoted the organization and made them a lot of cash for medical research. Social capital, networks. Social capital is what encourages people to volunteer time for something that they believe in. We see social capital can be abused. We see it in gangs, in triads, in mafia. We see it in where people manipulate systems in uncompetitive ways and go to prison, hopefully, for it. So social capital is so important, therefore, and that's why this whole conference is so important. And as I just bring the summary to a close, I just say this. As you look through the rest of the event, you'll see these themes come up over and over and over. You know, example is the only way to build social capital. You can't do it by program. You can't do it by strategy. You can't do it by little lists. Actually, it's what you do, it's who you are. Let's give you some examples, finally, as we finish. Here are some good examples about ways to destroy social capital without even trying, okay? Focus entirely on the numbers. Make sure you impose a top-down management style, so only your way goes. Keep your distance from your team. Don't ever tell them what really keeps you awake at night. Always maintain the illusion that you are a superhero. Block all access to social networks, by the way. That is very important. You know, it's surprising, shocking to me still how many companies still do this. They say, I'm not allowing my team to go onto Facebook. They won't do another stroke of work for the next decade. Well, that's fine, but actually, what are we saying? So blocking all social networks, ban personal devices at work, stop time-wasting social events, be quick to blame and get rid of people who don't seem to be absolutely the top. Keep all the important information to yourself because information is power. And cut out time with people outside your own team because they're not worth it. But ways to build social capital, well, that's a very different picture. We proclaim a clear mission, a vision, and values. We're generous with our time and our advice, not on a, well, you rub my back, I'll rub yours, but just because. You never know what it may do. It just opens people's hearts, it builds relationship. They're not even inside the company. They may even be part of the competition. But somehow you're generous, spirited. You're always giving stuff away. You reward collaborators across the business. So you may not be directly in your job description, but I want you to know it's a fast-tracked promotion. If I see you working across a business unit, fantastic. You use your team members as your best recruiters, as we've talked about. You keep in touch with good leavers. You know, people who've left your organization are the fastest way to grow your social capital. They may have left for good reasons. They were just offered a better job and you didn't have an opportunity for them right now. Even though you can't get them back, they will take your brand with them. Do you know, one of the fastest ways that companies like Ernst & Young have grown their practice is through their alumni. Huge numbers of people who've grown up the junior levels of the organization. They've been headhunted into specific companies, and of course, 3 years on, they're doing the audit for those companies. Why is that? Because those people are now the finance directors, and they're phoning up the company that trained them. It's part of the social capital. So keeping in touch with good leavers, spend trust-building time within the team. Rotate high flyers across the whole business, so the whole business gets joined up, and let people use social networks at work. What about using ways to build customer relationship social capital? Tell your own story. You know what? Stories really matter. They're the fastest way to build trust with the customer. How it is that you came to do what you're doing. Why you're so enthusiastic about the product. What it is that you are excited about at the moment. Always deliver on every promise. Sort out the problems rapidly and fully. Using your networks to generate referrals. Using social media to stay in front of clients. Introducing your best prospects to your best friends. I was at a client event just the other night. Typically at a client event, they'll bring me out as the thought leader, and then they'll bring their 60% will be their best clients, 40% their most important prospects. And you know what? They will make huge sales simply through cups of coffee and shared glasses of wine as customers gossip with prospects and they close their own deal. You hardly have to sell at all. The business is done as people build trust with someone else who's already working with you. Create thought leadership client events, therefore. Reward your clients for rewarding customers and keep in touch with former customers. You know your old customers are some of the best places to go prospecting to get people back. And finally, if you're in government, how do we use social capital there? Well, we focus on our vision of a better world. We connect with emotion as well as logic. We tell our own story because the stories really matter. They are what people believe in. It's what makes us authentic rather than just a posturing politician. It's someone who's always spending time with people who open the doors, the people who really influence entire communities, always delivering on the promise, always making sure we deal with the problems, using every network to build influence, and social media to listen and amplify. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, these are the reasons why I think that this conference is so fundamentally important to the success of business in the future. Yes, it's all about finance, sure. Yes, it's all about people, sure. But it's social capital that glues it all together and will be the engine of growth for the next 25 years. Social capital creates a better world for us as individuals, for our communities, for our businesses, and for our whole earth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrick. I believe now we will be moving into the question and answer segment of today's, of Patrick's talk. So, should anyone have any questions, please raise your hand and a microphone will be passed to you by one of our conference members.
And it may be not a question, it may even be a comment or an observation from your own experience. This is a conversation that we have over 2 days, and it's such an important part is to be able to share our experiences together.
I got a question here.
I see him.
Is the microphone working?
Yes,
Yes,
it's working.
people can hear me. I got a question here. Listening to you, well, only one question. What would be the risk areas or perhaps a pitfall of using social capital that may trap us if not be careful? Thank you.
Sorry, I'm having difficulty hearing on the stage. Can I just come down a little bit? So
That's
you can
why I'm asking that question.
Thank you.
Is
Can you just
microphone
repeat
working?
the question for me?
Right.
Yeah.
I repeat that again. This come to this social capital onset. Would there be a risk area that we need to know of or be aware of that we're not being trapped with the pitfall? Like one of it you mentioned about the classical marketing using the social media. That's not the way to go. It has to be a new way of doing things. What sort of risk area, pitfalls, if you want to go along the social capital, that one needs to be mindful of? Thank you.
Yes, well, I think you've given a very good example yourself. I think we have discovered that, companies, when they first started thinking about social media, they said, oh yes, we need a social media campaign, a social media office. And what we've discovered is some of these things can backfire, actually. So that if a company is just very aggressively tries to answer, let's say, a critical blog or something like that, sometimes they just not believed because they say, yes, but they would say that anyway. And so it requires quite a complicated, multi-level strategy to win the confidence of a community. If you're polluting the environment, it's no good trying to have a social media campaign when you're criticized. Somehow, that authentic voice needs to be heard. And so another example is companies that are defensive. So they're being attacked on social media, so they defend aggressively. Actually, you know what? I think what we've learned is that the best thing is to own up early, to get the bad news out quickly, to be honest about failure, and to be absolutely sincere about your own ruthless determination to sort out the root of the problem and to work with others. So I think that's part of the risk. I think we do need to be very careful. And I think the other risk is, which is difficult, we have to respond quickly when things start to go viral against the company. But at the same time, you need to respond in quality. And quite often, the person who's running your social media site, it can be quite junior inside the organization. And I think that's a challenge. Because the faster you go, the more likely it is a mistake will be made. But you cannot wait until tomorrow. In the past, the news story breaks, and the news media says a spokesperson could not be found for a comment. Well, in the past, you could last about 6 hours with that. Now it's about 6.5 minutes. So we have to find mechanisms to elevate things very, very quickly, if necessary, to the chairman's office, so that a particular social media response can be designed in a matter of minutes. Does that help? Thank you. Did you have another?
So, yeah, I got another, because your response led to another sort of questions. That is in a crisis. How about in the stable environment between self-services and the need to be served by the customers? Like, for example, you give banking services, call center. The idea was to bring about self-services to the market.
Self-service.
Yeah, self-serves.
Yeah.
But then people, being people, they want to be sort of fit with emotion when they're being served. So what is your view on that, balancing between self-service again being served in this new modern era of social capital?
Thank you. I think that's a very, very important question. And I think the answer is that in an the more virtual our world becomes, the more human contact becomes very special. And I think there are ways that we can improve the self-service relationship. Let me give you an example. I am a member of the British Airways regular flying club because I fly with them a lot. I think they are quite clever. They have a very good website which makes it easy for me to use self-service. If I want a personal service, I pay a bit more, because if you book on the phone, they tell you you're going to pay a bit more. So that gives me a choice. But the self-service has become very personal. So when I log in, I'm always sent a personal message which relates to my recent flying. Shall I give you a small example of what I thought was clever marketing? It wasn't shouting. It was kind of like social capital marketing. I got this email out of the blue from British Airways, and it said, "Dear Patrick, where do you go to?" Question mark. It says, "We're very puzzled because you keep disappearing off our radar screens. At British Airways, we're wondering how to serve you better. We keep flying you all over the world, but you never come home." I thought that was smart. All they're basically saying is, please stop booking singles. And then they gave me an incentive to do so. I think it was like double the air miles if I book return tickets in the next 6 months. But I just thought, I don't know about you, but I just thought, that's clever. I knew, in my heart, I knew a robot had written that letter, okay? But someone had thought about it. And actually, I thought they were marketing to me in a sensitive way. And also, they were making me think. Perhaps I am wasting money here. And anyway, what's wrong with coming back on British Airways? Does that help? So let's make it personal, whatever we do. Another example, call centers. When you call a call center, you know that most people here would be calling a call center from a mobile device, correct? The most important thing to record on the database, therefore, is not your home telephone number, but your mobile. And if we have your mobile number, and most people broadcast their mobile phone number as they make calls, yes? Most people don't block the ID of their phone. That means that most of the time you have a vital piece of information coming into your call center. It's probably the most important piece of information you will ever receive on the call. Before you pick up the phone, before your robot has answered, you know it's Patrick Dixon phoning British Airways. Okay? Now, what is more, actually, let's use the electricity company. Patrick Dixon phoning the electricity company. Now, the software should be able to tell from statistics the most likely reason for the call. For example, if they're clever, they can see that I have overpaid 1,400 euros. And that must be why I'm calling. Or if not, it's why they should be calling me. So they should put me straight through to the accounts department. He says, hello, is that Patrick Dixon? I'm so pleased you called because I can see we've got an outstanding problem. And in fact, we were about to contact you about it. I'm pleased to say, quick, I think we can sort it out, quick, almost as we speak. Clever. I called an IT, isn't it annoying when you get through to an IT call center about a very complex problem to do with your computer? It has taken you 6 months to get through because every time you get cut off. I once phoned a call center and they said, fifth time, each time I get cut off, in the middle of a 25-minute call. I keep calling back and they say, can I speak to Derek? No, he doesn't work here. What do you mean he doesn't work here? I spoke to him only 30 seconds ago. No. He works in Norway. You've got through to the French call center. I said, what? Yes, the calls are randomly allocated according to how busy the switchboards are. You'll just have to keep calling. What? Yes, just keep calling the number, press all the buttons, and when you finally get through, just ask one question. Are you in France or are you in Norway? Now, there's another company. When I phoned the call center once, as soon as I called back, do you know what? It was answered by the very same person. How is that? Because they see the number coming in. So that's my other answer. Let's make it personal. Let's use the technology to build social capital at zero cost, yeah? Any other comments or questions?
Mr. Dixon, I think we have time for just one last question before we proceed with the next item on the agenda. So, any other questions? Comments? Anything of that sort? I see a hand at the back.
At the back.
Thank you. I presume it is very sensible and easy to connect the social capital from a business to consumer environment or relationship. So I would just want to understand whether is there any difference or there could be the one-size-fits-all kinds of model if we are operating in a B2B environment or relationship, business to business.
Yes, a lot of what I talked about, of course, was business to consumer, but I think it is the same in business to business. Let me just say that business to business is what you're asking about, isn't it? Yes. So I talked about trust, reputation, it's who you know. You know, most business deals, the business deals are done between people, not between organizations. It's someone that you really trust. And the more important the contract is, the more important it is that you look into the eye of the person you're signing with. And think, do I trust this person and their team? Or are they going to leave tomorrow? And then what will I do? No. So I think it very much applies to business, actually. And actually, I think all good businesses really understand it. And they put a lot into client events, socializing. In some cultures, it's playing golf. In others, it's going to the theater. In others, it's just having the time to send in, how is your family? And how is your grandson doing? And are you enjoying the sailing at the moment? You know, your new boat that you got last year. It's just knowing those little things. And actually, I've got a poor memory. And I have hundreds, I have probably 9,000 contacts in my database. And if I meet someone, this is a secret, I shouldn't really be telling you this, okay? But if I meet someone and I learn something that I think is an important detail, I write it down in my contact. Just say, baby boy, Julian, born 6th of October. Because it reminds me next time, say, hey, how is he? He must be 2 years old now. And the person thinks, hey, he's got a good memory. Well, I did remember he had a baby, but I wouldn't have been able to remember. But actually, it's 6 years old. It's 6 years. It must be almost to the day. I know it's his birthday yesterday, but I'm not telling him that. So I think we can do these things. We can use the relationships, pick up the information, reflect it back, and be generally interested in people. And as we do that, you'll find that people are interested in you, and then trust is built, and business becomes a real pleasure, a delight when you're working with friends. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dixon. We invite you to return to the stage for the next item on the agenda.